All right, you got to give credit where credit is due, right? That's what I was always told. Credit where credit is due. If somebody does something well, you acknowledge them. You know, you give them some praise. It seems to work in a lot of different places, a lot of different areas of life, whether it's with your kids or maybe it's with the animals in your life, that if you reward them, you get a reaction. Something comes back the other way. Boy, what a messy desk I have this morning. But I am drinking out of the ugly mug, and this morning I am having not coffee, but hot tea this morning for a change. Maybe because I've already had a couple of gallons of coffee. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for getting up. Man, I have such a reflection when I do this with my glasses on. I have, believe it or not, I have two different pairs. I'm like, okay, well, these reflect it too. So anyway, I just go blind. I'll just go without. How about that? It is a Wednesday. It is the second day of September for 2020. I am Dan Gresham. This is my house, and I'm glad to be in yours this morning. I hope that it's a good morning for you. I have to believe that for the people, the majority, it's not everybody, but it's a good portion of the part of Southeast Texas that we lovingly call the Groves, not Groves, but the Groves. You would always tell you somebody lives in the Groves. It's just, I don't know. It's just, if you didn't grow, I guess if you didn't grow up there or if you didn't live around there, it might not be familiar to you, but that's kind of what a good group of people call it, the Groves. First time I had to go do a story there way back in like 1978, 79. I said Groves, and the guy went, "You meant the Groves?" So it's just kind of stuck with me through the years. But anyway, I'm hoping if you are in the Groves this morning that you are waking up with AC. Entergy has done a really, I think, amazing job of getting a lot of people back on. And of course, lucky that we weren't in the brunt of those winds were not here, that we didn't get those. That was over in Louisiana that they really got the brunt of the 140, and they're not going to be up anytime soon. Believe me, they've got some major structural damage. I want to start off by talking about that a little bit this morning, if that's okay with you. Let's get you up to date on where we are as far as outages go. This is the latest from the Entergy outage map. I want to keep reminding you, this is not something that only the media is privy to. I think everyone's discovered this is a great tool if you want to see where you are in the power game. We started off immediately after Hurricane Laura landfall. When you looked at this map, it was an ocean of red, right? What were we talking about? Almost 200,000 customers. And that wasn't just here. That stretched on over because they also go all the way over into the woodlands, and that was part of the problem. Those people were also kind of drug into this because of transmission issues, apparently. Let me back out just a little bit. Also to kind of give you an idea. Okay, so let's start. First of all, take a look here. Beaumont, with the exception of just pockets, and you will find them. There are a few. You can click on these. It will tell you 21 people affected. They're expected not to be restored until later today. It says noon today. You should be restored. Then you come down. Here's another one off of Pignut Road. There's a group of people there that don't have power. But like I say, vast improvements in Mid and Jefferson County and South County. Yes, there are some out there. There you see 4 affected, again, looking for this evening. So a few there, but you go down into Groves and look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 areas in Groves, a little segment there in Port Arthur, a couple more. But when you drive across the bridge and you get into Orange County, even there you're seeing some better. Vidor was almost completely red. You still have pockets. I'm not saying they don't have it. And then you also, same thing in Bridge City, a lot more people with than without. But unfortunately, once you get to like Pinehurst, West Orange, the city of Orange, is totally red. There is nothing green in the city of Orange. And the report that we had this morning from Entergy, 800 poles were affected in Orange. 800. And that it was miles, as you can imagine, of lines that were also tangled up in a mess. These guys are working 16-hour days, starting at 6 a.m. in the morning, hustling as hard as they can. And when someone asked, let me see if I can find it real quick. Somebody was asking when power would be back in Orange. They were asking specifically, when in Orange. Okay, here it is. I'm going to back out of this just so you and I can see each other. And it's Andrea White. Andrea says, when? And I'm going to refer back to the map because Andrea, I certainly don't know. But if you're going to use the map, and for the most part, I think they've been pretty accurate when they said we're going to be back on at this time. They've been back on at that time. So let's see what they're saying this morning in Orange. They're saying September the 4th by 6 p.m. So Friday by 6 p.m. That is in the city of Orange. That's what they're shooting for. Same thing. In fact, they're telling us they want to have their entire system energized in Texas by Friday. And they believe that they can do that. Now, you go further north, and of course, it's not Entergy because I'm going to back all the way out so you can just kind of see their coverage area. But you get over into Louisiana, Vinton, Sulphur, Carlos, Hackberry, Moss Bluff. You can keep going. Welsh, Jennings, DeRidder. Just follow the trail, and it gets tough. I mean, and why? That's why. That's why. It's the old saying, some things we hold to be self-evident, and I think that's probably some of them. When you have transmission towers that are bent like pretzels, there's a good chance you've got transmission lines that are also broken this morning. So that means you've got to put those all back together, and that means time. And we're not talking about days in that situation. You're probably talking about weeks. Weeks, hoping that it's not months. It's tough. There's no doubt. It's tough for folks right now in Orange. It's tough for folks anywhere without power. But you talk about tough. Tough is being in Lake Charles when you can't be in your home and you can't find a hotel room, you can't find a place to stay, you're driving to Baton Rouge or you're driving to New Orleans and you're coming back in, you're dealing with insurance adjusters, trying to figure out, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make this work? As I said yesterday, there are a lot of people here in Southeast Texas. You remember that feeling. You remember that feeling thinking, okay, if I can't live in my house, and I can't find a hotel room, what am I going to do? Maybe I'm going to get an RV and I'm going to park it in my driveway. Or maybe I'm going to go to Baton Rouge as they did. We didn't have to do that here, but you may have gone someplace. But how do you pay rent twice? How do you pay a mortgage and pay rent? And then compound that with the fact, do you still have a job? And let's do our part to make sure that we don't forget what's going on with people in Orange and people in, Lake Charles and all the surrounding Southwest Louisiana and the lakes area. I hear you. I know what's going on up there. I know that you're waiting some places for power. I will tell you this. My understanding is there are just over about 6,000 people that are still without power in the Jasper Newton Electrical Cooperative, and that they are working on it. And they hope they're not, didn't give a date that I saw, but they're working as hard as they can. They're trying to get everybody back on as quick as they possibly can. All right. I'm going to give a couple of shout outs this morning and remind you, if you want to say hi, I love it. I mean, I enjoy knowing you're here, where you're watching, what's on your mind this morning, because on Facebook, it's just a post, just like you do all the time, right? And when I started the show, I was talking about you got to give an A for effort, right? Consistency, reward. Here's the reward. This woman is consistently part of the at-home update. And Marie, I thank you for it. Marie Jackson, almost every single day that we live stream from the house, she's the first person to weigh in and say good morning. And I love that. And we have created our community. Anita Whitfield, David Peru is with us almost every morning. Betty Williams. These are names that I have become so familiar with. I just count on seeing you with me every morning. Good morning, Don Williams. Glad you're up with us this morning. Jeannie Smith says, good morning, Dan. Still in Mobile, Alabama. No power in Orange. And I would say again, Jeannie, whether you're with family or whatever, why would you come back to a hot house? Because at this point, you're not going to save anything in the freezer or the refrigerator. Ruth Yancey, good morning in Tennessee. Hope it's a beautiful day there. We know it is here, although hot. Joan McCarver, good morning to you. Brittany Hurst says she's in Cleveland this morning, waiting for the power to come back on at her house in Orange. Fingers crossed for you, Brittany. I'm hoping it's today that you get it. But again, it may not be. Janice, good morning to you. Tabitha Mark says, hopefully soon for you guys in Orange. Energy seems to be moving quickly. I think they've, again, done an extraordinary job, but they have an army in town. I saw some of them yesterday. I drove by. And they were parked at Parkdale Mall. It was just a sea of white vehicles, utility vehicles in the parking lot. And it's amazing how they're running this operation. I mean, it seems to me, as a casual observer, they're doing it a couple of different ways. Some companies have charter buses that they take their people to a site, they get in their vehicles, and they go from there. Then in the evening, charter buses pick them up, take them to the hotel where they're staying. Others, they're driving their vehicles to the hotels and then to the job site, doing safety meetings and everything that goes on in that. But again, there are people from all over the country that are here that are helping do this. Cicely Squeda says, Dan, my mother got home in Groves yesterday. There's a trampoline tied into the power lines at my cousin's house, still as of yesterday evening, Park Avenue and Hogaboom. Cicely, I am sorry to hear that. I'm not surprised. Trampolines become flying objects at, 60 plus miles an hour for sure. And it doesn't really surprise me that you would find one there. It's pretty amazing. Someone I know, and I think maybe it was Dana Malonzo, was telling me, because I haven't been yet. I spent yesterday, at least part of yesterday, in Beaumont, Regina Howell Elementary. You may have seen one of our reports early on that I did there with the folks from World Central Kitchen. I think it's just one of those solid ideas that works about crisis feeding and how you feed people in a crisis. And enjoyed my morning volunteering with a whole bunch of, and I say a whole bunch, it wasn't that large, a group of ladies and a couple of men, and we made about 1,000 sandwiches. And when I say made, built, assembled, put them in sack lunch, put them together, fruit, put them in a box, and gave them to the Red Cross, and then sent them over into Orange and other places so that people would be able to have some kind of a meal while they're working. And then we also loaded up a lot of hot meals that were also distributed. They have since moved to Lake Charles, and I'm seriously thinking I will make the drive over to Lake Charles and volunteer for a couple of days to work with the kitchen again, because A, I think it's a great way to help people out, and B, I think we all should be in service to each other. We all should be, and we all have something we can give back. You may be saying, well, I don't have a car, I don't have time, but there is something. If you think about it, if you work hard enough at it, if you look for it, there's something you can do. It may just be a phone call. You may just call somebody that you know is without power and offer them a word of hope. Hey, hang on there. It's coming. Or, hey, you need a place to spend a couple of cool hours? I know where you can go. You can come to my house. Offer somebody lunch. It's an easy thing to do. Anyway, talking to those people, they were telling me how they were just couldn't believe it. It looked more like a tornado had gone through Lake Charles in Louisiana than it did a hurricane. And how so many of the trees just snapped in half. They weren't pulled up by the roots and tilted over, just popped in half and laying everywhere. So I want to see it myself. Because as I said, it's always one thing to see the pictures. Those were pretty shocking pictures to see, but to see it in person, I assure you, you would go, well, it looks a lot worse in person. Same thing was true on the Bolivar following Ike and Rita. Same thing was true in Bridge City. See the pictures, but go there. Same thing was true in all those places like Port Arthur after Imelda. To see it in person gives it meaning. Sometimes when you see just see an image, you're like, okay, but that could be on the other side of the world. But when you go there, suddenly it's that word my favorite word, right? Perspective. It gives you perspective when you're there. Drew says, waiting in Lumberton to go back into Orange. Thank you, Entergy. Drew, I hope it's not a long wait for you. I really hope that it comes down. David Peru says, 800 poles, that's a lot of work for those guys. This heat doesn't help anything. Prayers for the linemen. I'm sure that they will appreciate that. Carlene Purdue says, prayers for Louisiana. Karen says, Entergy is doing everything they can. It just takes time. While Margaret Bertrand says, got power on Tulane Road in Orange. Amen. Well, good for you. I'm good. I'm glad to know. Nita says, those linemen are in Starks. Also, they are everywhere working around the clock. I have never seen this many linemen. I think the bigger the job, the more people it requires, right, Anita? And I think that they haven't tried to short anybody. They've tried, it's pretty obvious. They've called in the troops to do this. Gloria, good morning to you. Thanks for checking in. Kendra, okay, we'll be without power for. Just remember the linemen won't be home for their families either. Valid point. It's an opportunity. A lot of these guys in this line of work, and also in other lines of work, I know adjusters. My brother was one for years, was what they called a storm trooper. I mean, that's all he did. He worked storms for an insurance company as a claims adjuster, and he would just wait. They call him, he'd roll in, and he would try to do, as much as he could to help people. It was a different time back then, I think, for a lot of reasons. But and that's what they do. Whether it's linemen, they sign up for these jobs. They do it for a variety of reasons. I'm sure, they get paid well to do it, and they should. And I think it's also a chance to help people out, which doesn't hurt either. Trina says, Andrea White, thanks for asking about power. Guys, remember, you are a community too here. You can, talk to each other all you want. Drew Mormon says, we're sleeping in our truck for a couple of days now. No place to go because motel's packed all the way to Houston and all the way to Lufkin. It's hot as heck. Drew, my heart goes out to you, brother. It really does. And I can't imagine how hot it must be. I spent days without power. I'm fortunate now to be back, but I understand how hot it is. And I'm sorry your car is your only choice. I wish I could say, hey, here's the key, here's a place, but I can't. But maybe somebody else can, in our community. Maybe somebody else can reach out and help somebody out. Tina says she's still out of town. Power restored last night, finishing our vacay on Canyon Lake. Well, that's, as we like to call them in Southeast Texas, Tina, you're having a hurricane. Donna Woods this morning says, good morning. I'm still waiting for lights to come on in Port Arthur I think that says my aunt. Maybe that's what it says, in Lafayette. Also, Patty says, in Deweyville, waiting on power here. I know they're on the road working on it in my area. I posted a piece over the weekend, Patty, that you can probably relate to. I was sitting here at the house, and up come the trucks, right? Because you're always looking, right, down the driveway. Am I seeing anybody going by? I was literally like the only person in my neighborhood that was running a generator. Everybody else had not come back. But every day you watch the roads. Linemen come up the driveway. I live on a utility easement, so it's always my house. They're going down the alley, right, to get to and you're like, oh, this is it. And then they come back out, and you don't want to ask, but you do want to ask, and you have to ask. And you say, so what's the story? And I don't know. I don't know if they tell these guys, just don't say anything, just, tell them that, go to the, but these guys said, look, it's going to be a while. Well, that was pretty disheartening. It was a lot more disheartening for my wife than it was for me. She goes, but they're right there. I said, yeah, but that's the thing that I think we lose sight of. It's a bigger puzzle than that. When you look at this area, when you're trying to get people back on, what is the rule? The rule of thumb that it's always been, as far as it's been told to me by people in the industry? You always attack the problems that will restore the largest number of people in the quickest amount of time. Only makes sense, right? Then you can start, you still have other people out working on other issues, but you want to attack what you can do to get the most people serviced the quickest. And sometimes that means they come right by your house, but they're fixing a part of the puzzle. They don't have the whole thing. Maybe it's down the line, there's another transformer, or there's a pole down, whatever it might be. They have to put all the pieces together before they can energize the line. So be patient as best that you can. Again, I think we all understand at this point what it's like to sit there and think, how much more gas do I have to buy? How many more times am I going to have to fill this thing up? Will it run through the entire night? Or am I going to wake up in the middle of the night, pitch black, fans not running, hot? Yeah. It is just, it's just what we have to deal with where we live with the weather that we have. And the good news, and I've had a lot of people asking me, what about those storms out in the Gulf? Well, the good news is it doesn't look like the one that is being called Nana or Nana is going to be an issue. That's headed into Mexico. So that's a good thing. All right. I'm just looking. I'm sorry. I'm looking. Here's Andrea Haskett ask, where can we donate supplies for Lake Charles? Andrea, I would suggest that a couple of different things that you can do. One is to go to I think I have it here still. Let me see if I can get the KFDM Facebook page. The KFDM Facebook page, I think we're attempting to put as much as we can on there. List of things that are going on. So you can go. Entergy this morning, just 37 minutes ago, saying they have 74% of the electrical power restored from Hurricane Laura. 90% in Texas, 28,000 still without power. That's a lot of restorations. And Louisiana has 157,000 customers out of 600,000. I mean, they've restored 458,000 people in Louisiana. That's impressive. That's impressive. But anyway, back to the point. If you will go here, if you just kind of scroll through, I think you'll find different places that are offering up different ways that maybe you can reach out. You might also touch base with maybe the American Red Cross, some of the different churches. There are a lot of places that are going to be making and taking things to Lake Charles. I encourage you, no, I implore you. Again, a lot of people who have been there and done that will tell you the biggest thing that you don't need when you're in the middle of trying to assess and recover and start your recovery process is to have to deal with people bringing items that you can't use and then wondering, where are we going to store these? What are we going to do with this stuff? So let's try to be knowledgeable about what these people need, whether it's in Orange or if it's in Louisiana, and that we're not, loading them down with items that they just have no need for. Be smart in your giving. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't doubt your generosity. Mark Howarth, they're all out here in Orangefield working hard to get everybody's power restored by Friday. I love the fact that people are reaching out, trying to help other people. Cicely says, Drew, if you go to the Super 8 on Homestead Road about a mile when you get on 610 North in Houston, they had plenty of rooms available. We were there for a week. So that may be too far, Drew. Maybe your thing is you want to stay here closer. Understand that. But I appreciate the fact that people are trying to offer you some kind of a solution that is out there. All right, let's talk about a couple other things that are going on. BISD, if your kids are there and they're not online right now, they're late for school. They started at 9 o'clock this morning. I've been suggesting to people, I'll do it again today, that if you're not sure about your school's status, that the best thing you can do is go to their Facebook page. And almost every school district now has a Facebook page. Or you go to their website. Because we're going to have a situation kind of like the power. Some people are on, some people are off. Some people have started school, some people haven't. You're just going to have to go. And you're going to have to be the one that's, waiting and taking care of this. Someone asked about internet still down. Lamar University has started classes again. How? Well, I think it just depends, Robert. I don't think everyone's internet is down. Obviously, I'm at home and I'm talking to you on the internet this morning, so mine's not down. So I'm not sure. Again, I would suggest here's the other alternative that we sometimes forget about. And I think I have mine with me. Of course I have mine with me. Who would not have their phone with them 24/7 in today's world? I do have mine with me. But what I was going to say was, don't forget, cellular is not the same as Wi-Fi. So when your internet goes down, if you have a phone and you have a cellular plan, you still have the internet. And I know it's common sense, and you're probably saying, well, duh. But I know I forgot. It was like, oh man, I don't have. Then I went, yeah, you do. All you got to do is get on your phone. All right. So again, remember that is a source that is there. And so again, I would suggest, because I have not checked to see the situation at Lamar University, so I can't say for a fact, that what is happening there. Let's see. Teal says, so Dan, could you please find a way to get a food bank near Port Arthur in Nederland? Husband works for the refinery, but when it rains, you don't work. And if the oil tanks, yeah, I got you. You're looking for a little bit help. I understand. There are the way the food bank works in Southeast Texas, as I understand it, is they have distribution points. You don't go to the food bank location and get food. You go to a variety of different locations. But I think if you go online, Teal, and you look up Food Bank of Southeast Texas, it will have a list of distribution points and or affiliates that you could find out when they're making food distributions. Okay? That would be my best thought for you this morning. And again, there are going to be a lot of efforts going on out there. Let me jump over to the KFDM website. Gone a little bit long this morning, but I do want to tell you all the stories you need to start your day to be on top of what's happening around you are right here. Again, we will continue to do Entergy power restoration updates as information becomes available. For those of you in Jasper County that you're still in need, you're without, power, and you need some water or ice, there are pods. And if you hear people using this word pods, a lot of people are going to go, well, what is a pod? Why do you call it a pod? Well, it's point of delivery. You got to remember you're talking about military, because the Army National Guard, Texas National Guard are involved, and that's what they call them, point of delivery, P-O-D. It is a pod. So when you hear somebody say, oh, there's a pod at, it doesn't mean there are a bunch of whales or dolphins. It means that they're giving out point of delivery. And in this case, it's ice, water, and meals ready to eat, or MREs. And Angelina Fire Department, Jasper Fire Station number 2, First Baptist Church, Kirbyville, and the Buna High School. Now, if you're in Orange County, they also have pods set up at 4 different locations. And it's my understanding that they will be doing that at least through today. I feel pretty certain, I feel pretty confident that if there is a need beyond today, because that's what they have it set up for, is through today. If there's a need beyond today, they'll do it again. They're not going to shut down when there are people who need water and ice and MREs or meals. And Red Cross is not going to stop delivering and going out in their disaster trucks as long as there is a need. I know that to be a fact because I know the people who I worked with them all day yesterday, had the pleasure of helping some folks load things into the disaster vans. So they're going to be out there. They're going to be driving around. So if you have a need, look for them. And I know we always say they have these 3 things, but sometimes they have more. I know they have tarps. They may not have it at all of these locations. There are churches in these areas that are also helping out as well. All right, so we'll keep up with that at KFDM.com. So when you want to know what's going on, I'm going to suggest that and the KFDM Facebook page as great places to go and to keep up on what's going on. All right. And again, apparently, all of the deaths, I think I read this morning, with the exception of 3, and I think we're up to 18 or 19 total deaths in association with Hurricane Laura, both in Texas and Louisiana, were not related to storm. You realize that, right? The majority of deaths were actually what? You got it. Generator related. Look at this. Here's another one. Orange Police Department investigating to determine if a man's death may have been linked to carbon monoxide poisoning. 48-year-old man was found in his home unconscious on Bluebonnet in Orange. They're also they found another body. So again, if you're going to use a generator, whether it's today or in the future, understand they produce deadly fumes. And if you don't have enough air and if you don't have enough space, you're making a problem for yourself and for your family. And it should be, if you've got an old generator, it may not be on it, but most new generators, they have big stickers all over them telling you 5 feet of space, no enclosed spaces, certainly not in a garage, not up against the house. Pull it out a little bit, point the exhaust away from the house so you've got a chance for at least some air movement. Let's try to avoid loss of life due to generator operation, all right? All right, and that pretty much, I think we've touched on everything. You know where to go and get the headlines. You know what to do, where to look. I've been trying to do, and I'm sure we'll get past this because only a couple more days, I think, of dealing with the after effects, if you will, of Hurricane Laura. And when that's done, I want to spend some time one day talking about this. Should Election Day be a national holiday? This is a really cool website. It's called procon.org. And as far as I can tell, they live up to their motto, reliable, nonpartisan, empowering. Because what they do is they take things and they offer just what it says, pro-con. So you can go down, should it be an election? Pro one, con one. So they just kind of give you both sides of the issue. I applaud people who are willing to do that in this age of division. That they offer, or at least attempt to offer, both sides of the story. Go check it out for yourself. We'll spend some more time when we're not so deep into what's going on, with headlines here in Southeast Texas. And then to finish things up on a lighter note today, the State Fair of Texas is well, it's like so many other events. It ain't going to happen. We're not going to have the State Fair of Texas this year, but they're also not having state fairs all over the country. So if you're one of those people that every year, Jillian Fertig, I will name you specifically, my partner in crime, co-host on the morning show, she is a Dallas resident. Well, she grew up just outside of Dallas. But anyway, big State Fair fan, goes every year with her mom, with her family. They go. They have since she was kids. And their number one thing they want when they go is a Fletcher corny dog. And if you've never had one, a Fletcher corny dog from the State Fair, yeah, it's definitely worth having. It is, at the fair, they hand dip them, right there when you're watching. And and corny dogs are a State Fair classic. I think that some people say it started at the Texas State Fair. But Fletcher's original corny dogs, pretty hard to find anywhere but the State Fair, except for now. In the wake of the pandemic, they are actually now at 187 Golden Chick locations. You can find, just a little respite from the world in which we live. And that is the Fletcher Corny Dog, available now. You ever corn dogs with mustard or mayo? Oh, people are going, what? Mayo? Yeah, some people love them with mayo. They do. All right. I'm going to take one more question. I'm going to follow up on a question real quick, and we'll be done this morning. Teal, I understand. You're saying you're not a computer person. Here's all you have to do. It's so easy. Type in Google, Google, right? When you get to Google, type in Food Bank, Beaumont, Texas. Hit send, and it's going to come back with a lot of responses, and then you will see where it says the Food Bank of Southeast Texas. And then you click into their site, and you'll just kind of have to dig around. Or you can call them. That'd probably be even better. Call them. They don't mind if you call at all. Hey, do me a favor. If you've hung around this long, would you drop me a like? I'd appreciate it. That's the circle with the little thumbs up. Just kind of gives me some ammo to be able to go in and say, see, people do watch the live stream in the morning from Dan's house. And, of course, always the reminder, there are different places you can go. If you want to check out the update somewhere other than here, that's number one, the KFDM Facebook page. But if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Morning TV Dan. On YouTube, you can subscribe. It's Dan's at Home. And we post all of our updates every day to our YouTube channel as well. So there are a variety of different ways that you can catch up. And of course, we always remind you before we go, KFDM.com, KBTV, of course, is fox4beaumont.com. But you can also check out the latest headlines coming up at noon today on KFDM-TV, along with 5:36, 9, and 10, before we start things all over again bright and early tomorrow morning, beginning at 4:30 on KFDM with the morning show. I thank you for your time. I always say it and mean it. Your time is the only real currency in life, and I appreciate your investing a little bit of that with us this morning. I hope you got your return. And we will also, of course, again, remind you, reach out to somebody today. It's those kind of times. If you can help somebody else out, why not? It's the small things in life that make it good and make it worth living. All right, so go out and make it a terrific day. I will look forward to seeing you back here bright and early tomorrow morning. So long.